Hello students, today we are discussing Module 5 Wide LANs Ethernet in Data Communication for 18 series batch. As we all know, local area network, that is LAN, is a computer network which is designed for a limited geographic area such as building or a campus. The LAN market has seen several technologies such as Ethernet, token ring, token bus, FDDI, and ATM LAN. And in today's chapter, we are going to discuss Ethernet importantly, which has changed to meet the market needs and to make use of new technologies. In 1985, the Computer Society of IEEE Standard started a project called Project 802 to set a standards to enable intercommunication among equipment from a variety of manufacturers. It is a way of specifying functions of the physical layer and the data link layer of major LAN protocols. As shown in the figure in the next slide, the IEEE has subdivided the data link layer into two sublayers: logical link control, that is LLC, and media access control, that is MAC. IEEE has also created several physical layer standards for different LAN protocols. In IEEE, Project 802, flow control, error control, and part of the framing duties are collected into one sublayer called the logical link control. Framing is handled in both the LLC sublayer and MAC sublayer. Moving on to the topic Standard Ethernet, which has divided into four generations such as Standard Ethernet, which is 10 Mbps, Fast Ethernet 100 Mbps, Gigabit Ethernet 1 Gbps, 10 Gigabit Ethernet 10 Gbps. The Ethernet frame contains 7 fields: preamble, SFD, DA, SA, length are type of protocol data units, that is PDU, upper layer data, and the CRC. Ethernet does not provide any mechanism for acknowledging received frames, making it what it is known as unreliable medium. Therefore, this frame that has 7 fields, which can be divided as the first field as preamble, which is the 802.3 frame, contains 7 bytes of alternating zeros and ones, which alerts the receiving system to the coming frame and enables it to synchronize its input timing. The preamble is actually added at the physical layer and is not part of the frame. The second field is SFD, which is a start frame delimiter, which is a second field and warns the station or stations that this is the last chance for the synchronization. The next DA is the third field, which is of 6 bytes and contains the physical address of the destination station or stations to receive the packet. SA, the source address, is the next field, which is of 6 bytes and contains the physical address of the sender and the packet. Length or type is the field which defines as a type of the field or length of the field. The original Ethernet used this field as the type field to define the upper layer protocol using MAC frame. The next field is the data. This field carries data encapsulated from the upper layer protocols. CRC, the last field, which contains error detection information. The next topic we have is frame length of in this MAC sublayer, where Ethernet has imposed restrictions on both the minimum and maximum lengths of the frame, as you can see in the diagrammatic representation. The minimum length restriction is required for the correct operation of CSMA bar CD. An Ethernet frame needs to have minimum length of 512 bits or 64 bytes. The maximum length restrictions has two historical reasons. First, memory has very expensive when Ethernet was designed. That is, a maximum length restriction helped to reduce the size of the buffer. Second, The maximum length restriction prevents one station from monopolizing the shared medium, blocking other stations to have data to send. Coming to addressing of the MAC layer, the Ethernet address is of 6 bytes, that is 48 bits, normally written in hexadecimal notation with a colon between the bytes. As you can see in the example, where we have 6 bytes, which is equal to 12 hexadecimal digits in 48 bits. A source address is always a unicast address. The frame comes only one station. The destination address, however, can be unicast, multicast, or broadcast. That is as shown in the diagram in the next slide, which shows how to distinguish a unicast address from a multicast address. If the least significant bit of the first byte in the destination address is 0, otherwise it is multicast. The broadcast destination address is a special case of the multicast address in which all bits are ones. Here we go with one example where the way of addresses are sent out online in different from the way they are written in hexadecimal notation. The transmission is left to right, byte to byte. However, for each byte, the least significant bit is sent first and the most significant bit is sent last. That means that the bit that defines the address as unicast or multicast arrives first at the receiver. At physical layer, we can define the categories of standard Ethernet in 4 forms, as you can see in the diagrammatic representation, where we can have encoding and decoding, which is at the sender, data are converted to a digital signal using a Manchester scheme, as we have discussed in the previous modules. At the receiver end, the received signal is interpreted as Manchester and decoded into data. You can see in the diagrammatic representation here, which shows the encoding scheme for standard Ethernet. We start with the first category of standard Ethernet. The first one is the 10^5, or it is also called as thick Internet, which is also called as thicknet. The thick name derives from the size of the cable, which is roughly the size of a garden hose and too stiff to bend with your hands. You can see in the diagrammatic representation, 10^5 was the first Ethernet specification to use a bus topology with an external receiver, that is transmitter or receiver, which is connected via a tap to a thick coaxial cable. The next category we have is called 10^2, that is also called thin Ethernet, or it is also called as cheaper net. 10^2 also uses a bus topology, but the cable is much thinner and more flexible. The cable can be bent to pass very close to the stations, as you can see in the diagrammatic representation. Moving on to another category, which is a third implementation, which is called 10^T, or twisted pair Ethernet. 10^T uses a physical star topology. The stations are connected to a hub via 2 pairs of twisted cable, as shown in the diagrammatic representation. The maximum length of the twisted cable here is defined as 100 meters to minimize the effect of attenuation in the twisted cable. And the last category we have is 10^F, which uses a star topology to connect stations to a hub, as shown in the diagrammatic representation. Moving on to the summarizing the standard Ethernet implementations in all these categories, I have made a table. You can just view with respect to the characteristics such as media, maximum length, line coding, etc. The next category we have is fast Ethernet. The goals of fast Ethernet can be summarized as it can be upgraded to the data rate of 100 Mbps, make it compatible with standard Ethernet, it keeps the same 48-bit address, it keeps the same frame format, also keeps the same minimum and maximum frame lengths. Coming to max sublayer of this, In the half duplex approach, the stations are connected via a hub. In the full duplex approach, the connection is made via a switch with buffers at each port. A new feature added to fast Ethernet is called auto negotiation, which allows a station or a hub a range of capabilities. A negotiation which allows two devices to negotiate the mode or data rate of operation among them. Negotiation has been designed particularly for the following purposes, such as to allow incompatible devices to connect to one another, to allow one device to have multiple capabilities, and to allow a station to check hub's capabilities. Moving on to the physical layer of this fast Ethernet, if there are only two stations, they can be connected point to point. Three or more stations need to be connected in a star topology with a hub or switch at the center. Fast Ethernet can be implemented at the physical layer, which can be categorized as either 2-wire or 4-wire. The 2-wire implementation can be either 5 UTP, that is 100 base TX, or fiber optic cable, that is 100 base FX. The 4-wire implementation is designed only for category 3 UTP, that is 100 base T4, as you can see in the diagrammatic representation. Coming to the encoding of fast Ethernet, Manchester encoding needs a 200 M baud bandwidth for a data rate of 100 Mbps, which makes it suitable for a medium such as twisted pair cable. For this reason, the fast Ethernet designers sought some alternative encoding or decoding schemes. However, it was found that one scheme would not perform equally well for all these three implementations. Therefore, different encoding schemes has been chosen, which I have shown in the diagrammatic representations here. To summarize the categories of these fast Ethernet implementations, which have the characteristics such as media, number of wires, maximum length, block encoding, line coding, etc., you can see in the tabular form. Coming to the next topic, Gigabit Ethernet. The goals of the Gigabit Ethernet design can be summarized as follows. Upgrade the data rate to 1 Gbps. Make it compatible with standard or fast Ethernet. Use the same 48-bit address. Use the same frame format. Keep the same minimum and maximum frame lengths. And finally, to support auto negotiation as defined in fast Ethernet. With the max sublayer of this Gigabit Ethernet, a main consideration in the evolution of Ethernet was to keep the max sublayer untouched. However, to achieve a data rate of 1 Gbps, which was not possible for a long time, Gigabit Ethernet has two distinct approaches for this medium access. One is half duplex, another one is full duplex. In the full duplex mode of Gigabit Ethernet, there is no collision. The maximum length of the cable is determined by the signal attenuation in the cable. Whereas the half duplex mode of Gigabit Ethernet can also be used as rarely. In this case, a switch can be replaced by a hub which acts as a common cable in which a collision might occur sometimes. A half duplex approach uses CSMA bar CD. However, we saw before that maximum length of the network in this approach, which is CSMA bar CD, is totally dependent on the minimum frame size. Therefore, three methods have been defined. One is traditional, second one is carrier extension, and third one is frame bursting. In traditional approach, we keep the minimum length of the frame as in traditional Ethernet, that is 512 bits as we saw in the previous slides. However, because the length of a bit is 1 divided by 100 shorter in Gigabit Ethernet than in 10 Mbps Ethernet, the slot time of Gigabit Ethernet is 512 bits into 1 divided by 1000 microseconds, which is equal to 0.512 microseconds. Second category is carrier extension, which is to allow for a longer network. We increase the minimum frame length where the carrier extension approach defines the minimum length of a frame as 512 bytes, that is 4096 bits, which means that the minimum length is 8 times longer. The third category we have is frame bursting, where the carrier extension is very inefficient if we have a series of short frame to send. Each frame carries redundant data. To improve efficiency, frame bursting was proposed. Instead of adding an extension to each frame, multiple frames are sent. However, to make these multiple frames look like one frame, padding is added between the frames. The physical layer in gigabit Ethernet is more complicated than in standard or fast Ethernet, as we can see in the diagrammatic representation of topology topic or topology as subtopic in physical layer. Gigabit Ethernet is designed to connect two or more stations. If there are only two stations, they can be connected point to point. If there are more, they can be connected as a star topology with a hub or a switch at the center. Coming to the implementation part of this, we have gigabit internet, which can be categorized as either a 2-wire or 4-wire implementations. The 2-wire implementations use fiber optic cables, and the 4-wire version uses category 5 twisted pair cables. In other words, we have 4 implementations as shown in the diagram. Coming to the encoding of this, gigabit Ethernet cannot use the Manchester encoding scheme because it involves a very high bandwidth, that is 2 gigabaud. The 2-wire implementation use NRZ scheme, but NRZ does not self-synchronize properly. To synchronize bits, particularly at this high data rate, 8B bar 10B block encoding has to be achieved, which we have already discussed. This block encoding prevents long sequences of zeros and ones in the stream, but the resulting stream is 1.25 Gbps. Thus, to summarize this, all 4 wires are involved in both input and output. Each wire carries 250 Mbps, which is in the range for category 5 UTP cable. The characteristics we can define as media, number of wires, maximum length, block encoding and line encoding, and we have defined the different categories of this. The last topic of this chapter includes 10 gigabit Ethernet. The goals of this 10 gigabit Ethernet designs can be summarized as to upgrade the data rate to 10 Gbps, make it compatible with standard, fast and gigabit Ethernet, use the same 48-bit address, use the same frame format, keep the same minimum and maximum frame lengths, allow the interconnection of existing LANs into the metropolitan area network, that is MAN, or wide area network, that is WAN. Make Ethernet compatible with technologies such as frame relay and ATM. Coming to max sublayer of this, we have 10 gigabit Ethernet, which operates only in full duplex mode, which means there is no need for contention, that is, we cannot use CSMA bar CD here. Coming to physical layer of this, where we have designed it for using fiber optic cable over long distances. 3 implementations are most common in this. One is 10G base -S, 10G base -L and 10G base -E, which can be summarized as in the next slide of mine, where we have defined the characteristics only as media and maximum length of that. That completes your wide LANs Ethernet. If you like the video, like it, subscribe it. Thank you.